Hey guys, John Martini here to show you OpenSubdivs in 3ds Max. For those of you who are not familiar with OpenSubdivs, it's the way a surface is evaluated and then subdivided in 3D. OpenSubdivs is based on the research and testing done by Pixar. I'll introduce you guys to the OpenSubdiv modifier in 3ds Max and show you how to use it. To begin, I'll add the modifier to this geometric model I have here. So go to the modifier list and type in OpenSubdiv. Right off the bat, many of you will find this modifier appears very similar to TurboSmooth, which you may be familiar with. We have our basic controls for subdividing the mesh, such as iterations, which is similar to TurboSmooth. We have render iterations and isolating display. Next, we have the operating mode. By default, it's set to mesh output, which uses the default viewport drawing methods. Additionally, we have the GPU, which you can see here. Feel free to use either one. For now, I'll stick to the default mesh output. Next, we have the OpenSubdiv control section. Here we can control the algorithms used to calculate the vertices as well as the UV interpolation. Next is the crease options. Here we can control the interpolation of crease values along the edges by using either normal or Chaikin. I'll later show you an example of when to use this. And then lastly, we have the mesh control section, which is used for determining when the viewport is updated. So let's get into it. Some of you may be asking, what's so special about OpenSubdivs? Well, remember the days when you modeled something and you wanted sharp edges. You would add tons of extra edge loops and then throw on TurboSmooth and tessellate it. As a result, you get some very odd UVs as well. Well, with OpenSubdivs, you don't have to add those extra edge loops. You just go in and select any number of edges, and you adjust the crease weight, and then add the OpenSubdiv modifier. And if you go into subobject mode here and toggle on show end result, you can then continue editing these edges and increasing their weights. This works for verts as well. So you can select just verts and add weights to those. Additionally, you can go back and select the edge and increase that weight as well. So if you want to make the whole object sharp, you select them all and increase their weights. Next, I'll show you an example of when to use the Chaikin crease method versus the normal. So to start, I'll unhide my board here, which is a rectangular shaped object. And we'll go ahead and begin editing the crease weights. So we'll make this first one 0.9. The next set we'll do 0.75. We'll make these 0.5, and then lastly we'll make these 0.2. Then we'll add the OpenSubdiv modifier. Increase this iteration a few times. And we can see right here we have a weird bump, but we really want it to be a smooth, hard edge. So what we can do is change the crease method to Chaikin. And you'll see that smoothens that out very nicely. I'll change it again so you can see the effect. And there we go. So there'll be special cases when Chaikin will work better than normal. You'll just have to test around and see which one works best for you. Now you'll notice when there was no edge weights on this object, the UVs were a little out of whack. So to show you some of the UV interpolation options, I'll remove all the weights here, go back to the normal object, then I'll change this to bilinear, the first one. And in this case, that works great for this object. Now there's a few other ones here, which cause some stretching along the object here. So to show you what those methods do, I'll show you on a more cylindrical object. So we'll turn on the cylinder here, and we'll add OpenSubdiv. We'll up the iterations a little bit. And then we'll start at the top with bilinear. And I'll add an unwrap so I can show you what it's doing exactly. So bilinear, all the UVs are linearly interpolated. So now if we change this to smooth edge only, and then go back into the unwrap editor and we'll update the UVs, you'll see that they're perfectly smooth just like they are in the viewport. Now if we go to smooth edge and corner, we'll get a different result. And so here we have a corner, and you'll see right here we have one as well. And the last option is always sharp. So we'll reset that. So any edge in a UV is sharp and everything else is smooth. Now you may be saying to yourself, how can I easily adjust large numbers of edges with varying weights across multiple objects? Well, let me introduce you to the Crease Set Modifier. This modifier does just that. So we'll add the Crease Set Modifier here, and I apply it to all of the objects in my scene. And it comes with basic selection controls, which you can see here, for making edge and vertex selections. There's additional controls for selecting edges based on face angles. So for instance, if I wanted to select an edge whose face falls within 5 degrees of 90 degrees, I can quickly select them. So going to the edge mode, we see we have 90 set for the angle, and then plus or minus 5, and then hit select, and it selects those edges for us. Now here in the crease set section, this section allows you to make edge selection sets and easily adjust them whenever you want. You can add or remove edges to sets, and I'll show you here. So we'll go ahead and we'll select just the knee here. We'll hit loop, and then we'll create a set, and we'll call this knee. Add the OpenSubdiv modifier and increase the iterations. We'll just do 2 for now. And then you can see as I increased the knee crease weight, it sharpens. Now what we can do is go back into the edge mode, and we can select more edges here. Whoops, I missed them here on the back facing. There we go. Now we can add those to this section, and you'll see they inherit the weight. Now what we can also do is select some additional parts that we want to add weights to. We'll say, for instance, these side joints, and then we'll make a new set and call those the pivots, and then we can increase those weights as well. Now what you can do is you can select both these layers and relatively adjust their weights as well. Lastly, when you right click, there's a bunch of different controls here. You can rename the layer, you can delete it, delete empty sets. And then going into the last section, we have the options rollout. Here we can browse using the Open Crease Explorer. This allows us to quickly navigate the scene and see what objects have crease sets on them and the type that they have as well. And last but not least, we have the auto-generate crease sets section. This is helpful if you have set the crease weights for an object at the base level and you want to convert those into crease sets here in the modifier. You just choose the tolerance and you click auto-generate. So as an example, we'll take just the foot here, and we'll go back down to the base level here. And we'll go ahead and set a few custom weights here. So we'll select both of these insets, and we'll set those to 0.2. And they'll go into the heel, and we'll set this to 0.4. And then we'll go ahead and set these inside loops here to 0.8. Now if we add the Crease Set Modifier, and then we'll go ahead and add the OpenSubdiv modifier, and we'll increase the iterations up to 3. So we'll go down to the crease set, and we'll do a tolerance of 0.1, and then click Auto Generate. And you'll see that it acknowledges 3 crease sets already exist. Continue, yes. And now we have all 3 of them here. Now what we can do is go in and name these if we want. You can toe. And we can see it adjust here. So we can quickly and easily inherit those sets that we've already made at the base level into this modifier for mass editing. And now lastly, a good thing to make note of is when you make crease sets, when you collapse this modifier, those values for these weights will then be baked into the base object level. So you'll see that this is at 0.3. So now when we collapse this and we go to the toe, it's at 0.32. And there you go. I hope you guys have enjoyed the open subdivs for 3ds Max. There'll be more to come. Thank you.